Have Arrow sit at the doorways whenever we're going in and out of the doorways. Any doorway, front door is a real important doorway, of course. He sits, I step in, I step back, he waits till I come back next to him. Okay, he walks through with me without pulling through the door. Do a little left turn. Whenever you can do a left turn, it's a good thing to do. Do a left turn to close the door if you're by yourself. And then we're gonna go straight into this little mat exercise that we do every day. Sit. Notice I did a little left turn to arrange him so when I had him sit, he'd be pointed straight at the mat. So he's sitting. I'm gonna say, hold on, make sure that he really waits until you actually send him. He loves his mat. Go, and down. And that's not the best down I've ever seen on a mat. So I'm gonna lure him a little natural balance here to be straight on the mat. So we want him straight on the mat like this. No. Good. So you send him to the mat, he goes straight there. That doesn't happen very often. He's probably extra excited because we have a camera person here. But if he gets crooked, you just kind of lure him to be straight. Make sure that he's straight on the mat like that. And good. Reward him on the mat, like put the reward on the mat so he takes it off the mat, not out of your hand. And I'm going to do it to the side here so you can see how I do it. See how I put it there on the mat? Good. And then he takes it off the mat. So you want to place it there. He waits calmly, respectfully. If he gets up, you say no, and you can just do that with your left foot. I pivot on my right foot and just do this. That's the way I usually do it. If he does pop up before I release him. But when you're rewarding him on the mat, no, pull back if he touches your hand. Make sure he really waits. Good. Make sure he waits until you withdraw. You got that little 2-second space there that really starts to take over his life, this little calm space right there. Good. You do that in 5 minutes. You can do that 20 times while you're doing this mat, and that in itself helps calm him down over the time that you do this exercise with him. And he's a very hyper little dog, so he's going to be chewing on the mat sometimes, especially in the beginning of the exercise. Can't help himself. He's very jumpy, he's very fidgety, and he's always sniffing and trying to chew on stuff. So you can see in the beginning of this, he was doing that, but now he's starting to kind of click into the routine, the exercise where he focuses only on me and he's starting to calm down a little bit. So all I've been doing is just kind of walking around him like this, just to kind of warm him up. This is a basic down stay. If he gets up like that, you say no. Put him back, just rearrange him. Keep on doing the exercise. Basic down stay is where he stays down and you are able to walk around him both ways and he stays there. He gets a reward for that. Good. And then you can start doing things that are a little bit more difficult for him to handle, like walking farther away. So I drop the leash, I'm going to walk to the back of the house here. He can turn around to look, but he's not allowed to turn his body. What he did there is perfect. Always come back, always to the same place and reward him from in front like this. Good. You can just walk around, go to different places in the room. All he has to do is stay calm and stay there. Wait until you come back and he gets a reward. Good. So now I'm going to do some things that are harder for him to handle. I'm going to go in the back of the house, close the hallway door behind me and make some noise. If you're ever going to do something that you think is difficult for him to handle, it's okay for you to remind him what to keep doing. So I'm going to say down, walk back here, knock on this door. Good. That was very good. Good. So that was pretty easy for him to handle, obviously. Maybe I'll sit down here because, when you sit down on furniture like this, see that trigger him to get up? No. This is exactly what you're going to do when he makes a mistake. I said no, come back, step on that leash with my left foot. Most of the time he'll just see your left foot go up and he'll drop, so you won't even have to force him to go down at all. Try it again. Nope. I'm going to treat that as a mistake. No. Because I want him, he can look at me, but he can't turn his body. If you set the bar really high and insist on a high level of focus, you're going to have greater results and much better training, obviously. Higher level of focus, calmer little dog, as calm as we can possibly make this little dog, at least. Down. So really insist on him doing it the right way. Like that time, that was good. He didn't turn his body or anything. Good. I gave him a double reward. I gave him 2 pieces. Normally I've just been giving him 1. So he makes a mistake with something that's obviously difficult for him, and you got to redo it a few times, and then he does have a success. He does it the right way. Give him, nope. He's very jumpy, and anything could distract him and just have him pop up for whatever reason, but you keep on putting him back. You see the results of a few weeks of doing this because you know how he was before, and he's so much calmer now, and that's because I've been doing this every day exactly like this. He pops up, he gets distracted, loses his focus. You just keep putting him back, and he's going to get better and better over time. Other things you can do, little, rolling chairs, things like that. Good. Good. So now we'll do some things that are actually even harder than that. I'm going to go outside, leave him alone in here. Down. Knock on the door. Good. That was very good. That's a double reward because that was very hard to do. Good. Most dogs can't do that, of course. And he certainly couldn't do that a few weeks ago. Down. Try something else. Hanging on the windows. Do a male flap. Very good. See, I'm trying to just figure out what little, good. What little things trigger him the most. Nope. So all I had to do there was say no and step into him, and he just put himself back. That's what you're looking for. Good. Try one more thing and then we'll be done. Down. No. So maybe it's the doorbell. So he seems to be stuck, so I'm going to say down. So he's losing focus, losing a little bit of focus, so we're going to try to end on a success. We're going to try to get him to do this successfully, then we'll be done. Because you never want to practice for too long. He doesn't have a lot of focus, so short periods of practice like this and then always ending on a success is really important to do. Down. So first I'm going to do the bell. So it's not triggering him when he can see me. Good. Try it with the door closed. Good. All right. We're going to end on a success here. Good. Because you know how he gets when he starts losing his focus. He'll just kind of start grabbing the leash and, doing crazy things. And you never end this exercise unless he does it the right way. So we're just going to, We're just going to end this exercise with him being calm. And I'm sure this will happen to you, so you're going to have to stay calm. It's kind of like, this is kind of like a little cool down thing. Just do that walk around thing so you can end it this way. Nope. You may have to do this. Just be patient. Every time that you make sure that he ends this the right way, he's going to be a little bit better every time. Good. And then stand back next to him, pat your leg. Okay. Sit. I'm going to release him by taking him outside, but you'd bring him off the mat, have him sit, and in your apartment, you'd pat his chest and say, go. In this case, I'm taking him back outside just to show you the outside thing. I'm going to let him have some free time outside. So brought him to the front door, had him sit, step out, step back in. He waits for me. Okay. Walks through with me. On the outside, I'm going to have him sit, and then release him to be free. Go. Sit. We always have him sit before we send him back in his crate. And of course his door is always closed because you control his access in and out. So he sits, he waits. He loves his crate obviously, so he has to wait for you to go. Send him in. You just send him in like you send him anywhere else, and he'll go right in. And of course he goes in there, turns around, gets rewarded, so why wouldn't he love to go in there every time? Everything about the crate is positive. So anytime you send him in, it's always good time, happy time, reward time. If I take off his little collar, I give him a little treat while I take it off. When I'm about to close the door, one last treat, close the door. When I go to take him out, open the door, treat. Every interaction with him in his crate is super positive. That's why he loves his crate. And of course, dogs are naturally den animals, so it's his little den, his little bedroom. We're using a solid plastic crate because it's cozier, because of course, you know, we don't want to put him in a cage, so we use a little crate so it kind of simulates a little cozy private place, much better than just this wire cage to put him in. And he will grab a hold of towels and blankets and pull them in, so a wire cage wouldn't work for him anyway. You know, because people sometimes cover it up to make it cozier, but that wouldn't work for him. Everything good happens in the crate. You feed him in there, you give him his bones and chewies, anything he loves happens in there. And then you always keep this door closed. It's closed when he's in and it's closed when he's out, because you control the boundary into his favorite place in the world, and it's a really big part of the training. Definitely a great way to change that relationship between him and you and make him take you more seriously. It's a very easy way to do it. There's no rough stuff involved. You don't have to be correcting him or acting tough or anything. You just control his access in and out of the favorite place in the world because of the way you manage his life. All good things happen in there, and then he can only go in when he sits and waits for your permission to go in. So it works really well that way, and anybody can do it, but you just have to do it that way. When I take him out, right now I'm just kind of practicing what I do a lot, which is to practice having him wait. If he tries to come out, you could say no, and do this little token slam like that, which he knows what that means. But I practiced having the door open and just rewarding him, and if he ever did try to come out, I'd say no and do that. It's just another way to practice with him waiting at that boundary. Now this little prong collar thing, which I just started using with him, just basically the last couple of days of his training, helps a lot. If you want to use it, you can. I haven't used it up to this point. I've just been using his regular collar, but definitely makes it easier to handle him. And with him, of course, it's super gentle. You're not doing any pops or hanging or anything. It's just a super gentle little prompt. It's barely more than a flick of the wrist when you're dealing with him, but it really does help. So if you wanted to use this, when you take it off him, you just put it on the door like that. And then when you're going to put it on, you attach it to the leash first. You attach it to the funny looking buckle, not this perfectly round spacer. That's just a spacer. So it's the funny looking buckle that you attach the leash to. And then you reach in and just put it around his neck. You can do it just from feel. Just hook it up. It's real easy. And it's always the one that's the highest up, right under his ears. So it's the highest collar up, right under his neck. And his other collar with his tags is down below. And he's hooked up. I always hook him up before I bring him out. And by the way, he sleeps in his crate overnight here. Throughout the day, he's just constantly in and out of the crate, and we do this the same way every time. He sits and waits, he goes in, close the door, take off his stuff, close the door. He's in there for a while, we take him out, just like I'm about to take him out. More time outside. So it's a constant in and out of his crate and it's not associated to anybody leaving, or it's definitely not associated to anything negative. It's all positive and happy time with him in his crate. And we feed him in there, like I told you, so all good things happen in there. And it's just a great way to manage his life, and even if not forever, for the next few months that you have him, it really adds a lot of structure to his life, which he needs, and keeps him calmer than usual if you do it in the way that I'm doing it. It's way more than just putting him in and out of the crate. Anybody could do that, but it's actually doing it the way I'm actually doing it. Having him sit, really having him wait to go in, really having him wait to come out. You don't have him sit in there because you can't reinforce any training in there, but you can reinforce him waiting at this boundary until you let him out. So he's waiting for me to just pat my leg and say, okay. He comes out, as you can see, and then of course I'm going to close this door. And so throughout the day, he might do this 6 times a day. And it's just a great little, piece of the puzzle of the whole training. And then at our place, he goes straight from this crate outside, and you've already seen this part anyway. Sit, have him sit, and then in this case, this would be your apartment door and you're taking him for a walk, but it's always the same thing. Take him straight from the crate, on the leash, go to the door, step out, take him out on his little walk. Okay. Good. I want to show you what I do when I'm walking Arrow at every curb. I have him sit, and then I practice this little sit-stay thing. And what it amounts to is maybe 10 seconds of just focus on his part. If he gets up, you say no. And you just gently put him back, start the whole process over again. And usually I like to step way out like this and walk around both ways. And every time you do this, it's just like a little dose of calmness for him. And of course, when you walk back next to him, good little pinch of a reward, straight down, reward him. No, make sure he really waits until you release him. And then, okay, you cross the street, for example. I'm gonna go over here. And he walks across the street in training mode. And then once you get there, you have him sit, and then you release him to be free on the other side. Go. And then he can have a nice little leisurely walk where you're just, keeping the leash loose at all times and calling him to come away from distractions. We're just taking a leisurely little stroll into the local Home Depot with a bunch of people. And I want to show you how I've been handling him out in public. Well, let's go this way. Yeah, very good. So he's gotten used to being out with me. Why don't you stand with your back to that place right there? Been taking him out here every day. I know that you've had bad experiences with him in certain public places, not all. Come. Let's see, if somebody comes near us, like walks right up to us like that, I'm going to call him away from us. He's been really good as far as hanging out. You saw us walking in, and he's the only time that I've had a problem with him is where somebody does something irrational like that and just like walks right into us like that, and I don't catch it in time to call him away. But when we first started coming out here, there's no way we could have done that because he was just all about barking at anybody he saw, and nobody could get close to us. So the way that I got him to this point was, show to your left there, just what happens here. So you saw him look at them and then look back at the camera person, actually. Come. But what I've been doing is calling him away, just bringing him to places like this and calling him away from anybody that shows up. Come. Just a little tiny little recall like that, whether it's, just like back away 2 feet or something like that. So really, if you want to put it in these terms, his job to do now is to, when we come out in public, is to, hey, there's somebody, I call him back to come to me, he gets paid. It's way more appropriate for him to do that than what he was doing before. And he's behaving so much better and he's so much calmer in this environment because he's occupied. He's got a little job to do, but it takes whoever's handling him to do it with him for him to stay in this place where he can handle most distractions. Come. Good. And if you just pan to the left, and this is all the kind of stuff that continues to happen. People are coming past and going around and all that kind of stuff. So one of the main reasons he's calmer out in public on a leash is because the leash is always loose too. So you can't be holding him like this. You can't be choking up. That creates stress in any dog, and over time creates problems. So if you've been doing that, it takes a while to undo those issues. And so every time you go out, you have to make sure you're doing what I'm doing here on the video. And then the other way of handling him would be you're holding him, and if you're in line with other people, you need to either be, not on top of people and making sure that they're not, they're not crowding you, or can also be hand feeding them while you're waiting in line at the checkout line. That helps a lot to reduce stress. And we'll practice that in a little bit later too. But those are the two ways that I would have him out in public. But the on-leash thing is really important, how you handle him out in public, because there's tons of distractions. And this store, there's no more distractions in any store other than, this type of store, Home Depot, because you got everything, wheels, carts, all kinds of wheels, and people carrying stuff, and workmen everywhere. So this is the best place to practice. If he's good here, he's going to be better anywhere you take him, as long as you handle him this way. Good boy. See how he's just starting to come back now? He sees somebody come by. You should go.
Okay. I have a dog, so I know.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So he's just seeing people come at us, and he'll usually turn back to me. Good. And guess what I am? I'm there waiting to give him a reward. So when you do take him out for a while because of his previous problems, you're going to have to do exactly what you see me doing here, because the previous problems just don't fade away without you doing something different when you go back to those environments at first. And just like what happened with me, over time it gets easier and easier. Come. So there's a lady there that was like jumping up and down and stuff. And that's why he did that. So show her again, okay? And show him. Well, he ignores her now. Come. But that's why he got a little excited, because she was kind of like trying to get him to come to her or something. That's going to happen. So you got to be, in these kinds of places, you have to be vigilant. Okay. So I just want to show you, what I do. If anybody walks past, I do that. That goes a long way to desensitizing him to anybody that's walking up to you or walking past. And I even actually did that a little bit too late. So if I see somebody, maybe 10 feet away, that's when I would actually start this. Just like this guy carrying the bucket. Now's a good time right now. Of course, he ended up taking a quick right turn, which they do sometimes. So anybody approaching us, like this man here, you're literally desensitizing him to that occurrence. Every time you do what you just saw me do, you make him a little bit more relaxed in that situation. Come. If he's not right next to you, call him away from somebody. I'm assuming you had issues in a store with him, and so it would have been him walking around, people passing by. So that's why I've been working with him this way. Okay.
Ryan, Gage, please pay attention. 4, 5, 4, 5, 4.
Cement and stuff.
4, 5, 4.
Right.
Good boy. Very good. Very good. Good boy. Very good. A lot of dogs have a problem with wheels and carts. So practice with that a lot here. Even if he didn't have a problem with that, it still helps with whatever his main trigger is, and every dog has their own little trigger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Lots going on here at the Home Depot. Sit. So I'm just going to see, with all these people walking past us and walking up to us, if he can do a little sit-stay in the presence of all this craziness. No. Sit. Real difficult for him and his short attention span to be able to focus and just stay in a sit-stay with all the goings on here. But just doing something like this, good. It's really beneficial for his overall level of focus. We had somebody walk right behind us and start snapping sticks for some reason. So, come. That's what's great about practicing here, but if you're in a place like this, you have to be vigilant, and I don't recommend that you bring him somewhere like this intense on purpose, until you get comfortable with the training that I've shown you. So gradually, just first keep him in, take him to places that are way less traffic than this, and start easy, start slow. Generally, if people are farther away, it's easier to handle him in those situations. What you see here is the effect of me coming here for a couple of weeks and building up to being able to do this, which has, changed him a lot, but you're going to have to do the same thing once I'm finally off the scene. See right there? You're right. Bunch of people waiting for us. Come. And a lot of this, I think I mentioned earlier in one of the other clips, is that there's no tightness on the leash. Tension on the leash is one of the major factors of leash aggression and pushing a dog over the edge so that they get aggressive or overstimulated out in public. So you keep that leash loose, and right there, that's half the battle. He's way calmer. And then you add your little, if somebody's coming, you add your little recall, call him away, give him a little reward, which relieves his stress. He's actually working for you. And every time you do this, he gets a little bit better and better. And this is great to have this going on, all this noise and all this stuff. And he's becoming desensitized to these situations, and as you continue to do this, he just gets better and better over time. Come. So I did that on purpose. I didn't call him away from that man. He came within 2 feet of that man, and he wasn't that interested. I could tell he wasn't stressed out or anything, but I still called him to come to me after. This kind of stuff used to trigger him like crazy. Come. So you don't want to let him stare at people. That's a perfect opportunity. Every time that happens, something like that, exactly what you just saw happen, and you call him away and he comes away from that, he's a little bit better. And then if you had a day where you took him somewhere like this, you always want to leave when he's doing really well. You never want to stay too long. So at some point, his focus gets destroyed. He gets destroyed, and he can't handle it anymore if you stay too long. So you always end on a success, and that way he's going to be better tomorrow every time you end on success, like we're going to end today. Okay. Good. So here would be your other option, I guess, is you'd be standing in line with people, I'm assuming. I mean, you told me this, and I don't know if you had a problem with him when you're standing in line, but with a dog that I know has this kind of issue, I'm set up for success. If I know that he had a problem standing in line with people before when I held him, well, every time I stand in line for a while, I'm going to do something that changes his perception of what it means to be hanging out here with people crowding all around me like this. it's going to be treat and giving him little reward time, just to make him think, oh man, this is awesome, and I'm not stressed, and I love it when she picks me up, and I love being in line with people at the store, for example. That's what his impression would be, instead of just not having anything to do, freaking out because he doesn't know what's going on, getting stressed by the second. So you just hand feed him. And of course, it's going to be so much better if he's a little bit hungry. So if you're going to do this, make sure that you feed him after you're done, so he's a little bit more motivated by just hunger. So he's like really into this. And another thing is just basically, if he always does this now see how that guy just like stopped on a dime right there and came this way? I don't know if you probably caught him walking past, but he was like right here. He stopped and he made a quick right to come right past us. He can't. He's busy. He's doing something he'd rather do than guard you. Like if he's in your arms like this and he's causing trouble, I don't know if he was barking or if he's like leaning over to bite people. I don't know what happened, but if you're doing this, he's busy and he's doing something. Somebody walks right past you like that. He doesn't have any inclination to do anything to that person. He's having a great old time. This is party time when you pick him up and hold him in line. So if you do this, exactly what I'm doing, every time you do this, he's a little squirmy. Every time you do this, he's going to get a little bit less of what he used to be in this situation. And really helps change the dog's perception of what it means to be held in a public situation like this. And over time, you see that issue is not what it used to be. We're going to show you this little greeting routine with a new person with Arrow. Sit. I always approach a new person. You always want to approach the person. You never have the person approach you, because if you have a dog that's a little nervous with new people or scared or stressed out by that, you never have somebody approach. And the worst thing would be, of course, hey, nice dog, like that, because that's going to make him more scared. So we teach him this little routine, where he's sitting. In his mind, you're orchestrating this whole thing. So he's cool because you're calling the shots. He knows how this goes. We've done this many dozens of times with other people. So he knows how it's going to go. So I can plug any new person into this little scenario. Even though he doesn't know that person, he knows how it goes. He's like, well, I don't know her, but I know exactly how this goes with the person that's standing there. And all I do is I send him over to get the little treat, and you're just going to offer it to him, okay? Just let him take it out of your hand. Go say hi. There you go. Come, whether he wants it or not. He didn't seem to want it there. It's okay. You call him back to come to you. Sit. No, that's me. The new person doesn't do any training because you're holding the leash, so the person with the leash does all the training. And some people may misunderstand and call the dog to come to you or whatever, but you just need to stay in control. And you notice he took the treat from me right away. It's not that he's not hungry, it's just that, hey, he's like, well, you're kind of new and I don't know if I trust you enough to take a piece of food from you. So she still has a piece. We're doing it again. Step over, hand it to her, step back. He waits for me to pat his chest and say, go say hi. He takes it. Now he's going to take it. Come. Call him back to me. Good. You can do this with each other, with family members, people he knows really well. Sit. In fact, it's better, like if you practice with people that he knows really well, then when you plug a person he doesn't know into it, then he's been doing it with in a comfortable way for so many times with people he does know. You plug somebody he doesn't know into it, and it makes it easier for him to accept approaching a new person. And of course, every time this happens, all that happened was he approached a new person, he got a gift, nothing weird happened, nobody tried to touch him or rub his head or whatever, and you called him back to you. It makes him feel safe, makes him feel like you're in charge. He doesn't have to worry about anything, and it just gives him a different impression of what it's like to meet a new person. So it's a great way to get him comfortable meeting new people. Go say hi. We'll do it again. You spit that one out. Come. So it depends on what's going on with you. When he's back with you, sit. If he's been super friendly, then you can have them pet him. But there's a lot of dogs that aren't super friendly at first and maybe had an issue with nipping at people that try to touch them too soon. And if he's doing that, then this is all you do. Just send him over to a bunch of people, let him accept a gift from those people, call him back to come. Nope. If that is the impression he gets, just doing that a bunch of times puts you way ahead of the game, where he starts getting more comfortable. And then the next step would be people will be able to pet him a little bit. But it just depends on what he's doing after he's back with you and I'm off the scene. At least do that and you're still going to be making him better. If he's comfortable with somebody, like I think he is with Catherine, I'm going to do it one more time. Go say hi and you can pet him a little bit. Good boy. Oh, he doesn't want the treat from her. Look, you can get petted. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah. Or let him stay over a little bit longer until he comes back, or you call him back to come to you. You know, that's all good stuff. He's obviously not stressed out. Excuse me. And not about to bite her. So even if you have that kind of interaction, you keep having these and his issue with new people will get less and less and less. Sit. You never repeat the command. If he ever ignores it, even for a split second, you may not have even seen it, but I just did a little bit of pressure to make sure he went there. Sometimes he will, sometimes he won't. He gets very unfocused sometimes. Stay is built into sit, so I've never said stay, but he knows that when I say sit, he needs to stay. And you can practice just little walk around stays like this. It's a great way to get familiar with that. That's a sit stay that most dogs never have anyway, but he has so much more than that. Whoops, I dropped a tree right on his head. So you come back next to him. Good, he gets a reward like that. See how I gave it to him straight down? I didn't go like this. So there's a trough for him to eat out of. He actually was looking at me in the eyes when I just took a little pinch off this natural balance. Straight down, gets a reward while he's looking at me in the eye. That's a good way to reward him when he's in a sit. To release him out of a sit, you'd either pat your leg and say okay and he'd walk with you, or you pat his leg and you pat his chest and say go, and he's free to do whatever he wants. If he does get up before you release him, you just say, oh, he just did it to help me. Nope. You say no and you just put him back, and it just took a tiny bit of pressure, like hardly nothing at all. He's very sensitive, he's very small, so there's no rough stuff here at all. Obviously it's some very gentle handling, and he needs to really wait until you actually release him. So if he ever for some reason won't sit because he's really agitated for some reason and he has to sit for some reason, you can just continue that pressure and then use your left hand to kind of put his little butt down. But I never have to do that anymore, but just in case you ever have to do, it's just some pressure that's continued, holding it with your right hand, then your left hand just eases his butt down. That may never happen to you, but if you ever have to reinforce the sit command, that's how you do it, and make sure that he doesn't get up until you release him. In this case, I'm going to pat his chest and say, go. Good. Down. Good. Just a basic down stay. Of course, there's no stay. If he gets up before you release him, you say no and just put him back. Good, but he's actually doing well. That's just a basic down stay, walking around in both ways. He waits until you come back next to him. You pat your leg and say, okay, and then have him sit. Because if you're going to release him to be free, it's so much better to do it this way than the other way of just releasing him and he jumps up and runs around. Because this way you can reinforce a calm release. So you say, okay, he gets up and you have him sit, and then you release him from a calm sit stay like this. Loose leash, of course, with your right hand, go. And then he keeps a little bit more calmness from that down stay that you taught him. Okay. Down. Good. Okay, you're going to do it one more time. Down. Sometimes if he thinks that he doesn't want to go down somewhere, like here in the pavement in the yard that he usually plays in, he just won't do it. So what I have to do is at the very moment that I say D-O-W-N, I'll just reinforce it with my left foot. And you saw how I did it. It's gentle, it's firm. He knows that he has to do it. All he knows is that I said it once, he ended up there. That's why the down gets better and better over time. And sometimes, especially after a day of having him do a lot of different things, and his focus is kind of shot at that point, and doing a downstay is his toughest thing to do out in public, at least. On the mat, it's a lot easier for him. Good. Sometimes you have to reinforce it and make sure you keep him honest, make sure that he does it, even if he's down for like 30 seconds or whatever, just to get a success. It really is good for him to know that when you tell him to do something, however much he doesn't want to do it, that you just enforce it, make sure he does it the right way, then he gets paid. Good. And then we're done. And you just have a little success. Okay, sit and go. I want to break down the whole step-by-step process of practicing the recall, since I think the recall is probably your most important command. When I'm practicing come with him, I have the leash over my left hand, I have the reward in my right hand. I make a target, it's a fist, so that when there's no food, he's still going to come to this. You always practice with a reward as much as possible, so that when you don't have a reward, it's going to work perfectly. And over time, later on, you won't need to have anything, because he won't know why he loves to come to this, he just will. But in the first few weeks that you have him back with you, you should have a reward every time, and then gradually phase it out after that. So when I call him to come to me, I always make sure that he's looking away from me, because that's a real life situation. You're going to say the command, he's going to break away from something and come running back to you, whether he's headed out in the street or going to be, sniffing something that's gross on the ground or whatever it is. Come. So I'm backing away. Good. And you see me with that pole there? Okay. So he's backing away. He's still distracted by something. Come. Good. Are you sure? Okay. And when you back away, come, he's drawn to you. Good. So make sure that when you practice, you back away, because that makes him rush to you when he hears that command. And if you practice that way, then in real life, when your back is up against a wall or a street or whatever it is, he's still going to rush to you because of the way you practice. So it's all about how you practice that matters. And make sure that you never say it twice. So never say come twice or 3 times in his name and all that stuff. One time. If you want it to be that way in real life, then you say the command one time. And of course, we're only practicing on a leash anyway, because nobody practices off a leash. You have to have the leash to gently but firmly reinforce the command. So if he doesn't do it, you're going to do a little prompt, which I don't have to do because he'll just come to me now. Good. His nose touches the target, it opens, you say good, and then your other hand can grab the leash, and then you have the leash. So those are just the basic steps of practicing the recall. And this is a 6-foot leash, but if you wanted to practice with longer lines, 10-foot long line, 20-foot long line of the park, that's great. Just make sure that he's on a very secure collar, it'll never come off. And just pretend just do the same concepts as with a 6-foot leash. But first, get it down with a 6-foot leash, and then move on to longer leashes if you want to do that later on.